Welcome back to Introduction to Biology. This is ecosystems and biomes. This is probably the simplest topic of the class, so I will not be going over it as long as the other videos. Likely, this video will be around 5 minutes long. So if you have free time, you don't really feel like paying attention today, it's completely okay. This is a short little video. Let's get right into it. We have some content. So we have biomes, ecosystems, and differences between those. And we have population ecology and community ecology. All of this is just different terms for things within biosystem or ecosystems. And we'll also talk about things like biospheres, lithospheres. We'll be talking about how food chains work, etc. This is just a good image I found. So as you can see in this picture, an individual is one organism of one species. A population is multiple organisms of the same species. A community is a mix of different species. Ecosystem is a mix of different species and like interacting with the environment. A biome is a type of ecosystem. We'll get more into that later. And then a biosphere is like very large scale, the Earth, basically, like all the area on the Earth that living organisms is or living organisms can live, habitable area. There's some more descriptions. So individual, one organism of one species. Population, multiple organisms of one species. Community is multiple organisms of different species. Ecosystem, a community interacting with an environment. So soil, water, biome is a classification of different types of ecosystems, and a biosphere is a part of the Earth where life exists. This is a basic ecosystem. It's also just a food chain. This is a food chain that looks like most likely a type of forest or pond, probably, just based on the animals chosen. So we have a producer, which is the green plants. They are given energy from the sun, but we have a producer. Now, the primary consumer receives the most energy as it gets its energy directly from the producer. So the energy slowly diminishes down as it goes through these different steps. But it means that these primary consumers most likely get close to the most amount of energy. Producers obviously produce the energy, so primary consumers get the most amount of energy. Secondary consumer eats the grasshopper, that is the primary consumer. So secondary consumer gets the second to most amount of energy. Tertiary consumer eats the secondary consumer and gets the third most, and it goes on like that. But we have a final consumer, which is a hawk. And now we have two final consumers here. This is the fungi eventually go back into producer, like the green plants. And the fungi only form because the hawk dies and the corpse is it like provides nutrients to the soil that eventually go back into the ecosystem. So energy is always recycled, as we can see. Um, but fungi are in this example final consumer along with the hawk. I did some biome examples. So here we have a tundra, and here we have a forest of some sort. Probably looks like a woodland forest, but both of these environments have different food chains based on the animals that live there. For example, the tundra would have most likely the tertiary consumer or the final consumer would be the bear. Secondary consumer would be um, most likely a type of snake. Perhaps snakes wouldn't live in the cold weather. Probably maybe like a wolf, something that bears would eat, but does not eat plants. A primary consumer would be something like rabbits or hares, and then the producer would be plants. So these bush life and the river, as we can see. And the forest, the tertiary consumer again would probably be like the bear or eagles or giant birds of some sort. The secondary consumer would be snakes, maybe some different types of smaller carnivore creatures. And then some primary consumers would be like rabbits. Maybe we would have insect life. Maybe we'd have just some sort of plant-eating small organism. And then the producer would be the plants. Here is a biosphere. As we described earlier, biospheres are the inhabitable part of the Earth. So anywhere on the Earth that can be habitable. So we have three different types of biosphere or parts. The atmosphere, which is where birds live, or a lot of condensation is like water is risen through the participation or precipitation. We have a hydrosphere where a lot of fish life live. Some different plant life live there as well. And then we have the lithosphere, which is a lot of land living animals and plant life where we most commonly live. This basically biosphere is anywhere on the very outside of the Earth where animals, life, and plants can live. And this was a very short class today. There was nothing much to this one, I would say. So if you are still confused, I recommend looking up different food chains of different biomes. Again, biome is a type of ecosystem. So a biome would be essentially the same, though different depending on where it is. So, for example, if a biome was taken in the Sahara Desert, that would be a different ecosystem than the biome taken of the biome of like a woodland forest like this one. So always keep in mind that there's different types of biomes, but they are, or there's different biomes, so they're the same, like they're all ecosystems of some sort. They all have their own food chains, producers, primary, secondary, tertiary consumers, perhaps even a fourth final consumer. Um, Here's one last look at the descriptions. Um, the one I always forget is that population is multiple organisms of one species, while community is multiple organisms of different species. So just keep in mind the difference between this. Um, if it helps, you could keep in mind that when you say a population of a species, you'd be like the human population is 7.7 billion, while the human like community would be humans and also different animals or creatures that interact with humans. So just keep that in mind going forward. Um, Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day.